I like walking.
And you just happened to wander onto my farm.
I like farms, too.
This week on Lost, Saeed has a strange suggestion for a new fashion accessory.
If only we were all wearing license plates.
Michael wants to go sunbathing.
Oh.
And Sawyer helps Kate remember her lines.
Came by to thank you. You gonna ask what for?
What for?
Welcome to my Lost Rewatch, where I am watching every episode of Lost and talking about the good, the bad, and the mysteries. This week is Season 1, Episode 3, Tabula Rasa, Tabula? Let's get lost. In this, the first episode proper, the group who heard the French transmission decide to lie to everyone about what they heard because...
Hope is a very dangerous thing to lose.
Kate is given the marshal's gun as a sign of her trustworthiness. But back at the doctor's office, the marshal awakens and stresses Kate's danger levels. Danger, danger! High voltage! When we touch! When we kiss! Michael, still wet from the rain, comes across a bathing sun and wishes for another cold shower. Elsewhere, Jack and Sawyer pillage the fuselage, one for shared resources and the other for their own gain. In flashback, we see Kate in a desperate state. Out of money and tired from running, she takes a job helping a farmer, who dobs her into the marshal. Showing integrity, Kate helps the farmer instead of running away when they crash during a car chase with the marshal, leading to her capture. Back on the island, she gives the gun back to Sawyer to put the marshal, who is slowly on his way out due to his injuries, out of his misery. Sawyer's got hyperopia now though because he misses the marshal's heart and Jack is forced to euthanize the old guy. The next day, Jack forgives Kate's transgression and says that everyone gets a fresh tabula rasa, tabula, on the island. And that's the first proper episode of Lost, complete with allegorical flashbacks. Now, speaking of flashbacks, isn't this weird?
First of all, the network didn't believe in it when it was finished. They thought it was a great pilot, clearly. They never were behind Lloyd's crazy-ass idea of this island show. So we went off to make this show with not a lot of faith from the network. And they, for instance, were very against flashbacks, which was very much the formula of the show, because historically flashbacks on TV never worked, they felt.
Isn't it funny that sometimes a studio has very little faith in something, but if they give it the chance to grow and explore itself and find out what it wants to be, that thing can become very successful. And Lost is actually kind of the odd one out here because it was a hit from the start, in terms of viewership. But the show still needed to grow. Even though it was a rating success, the show still had a long way to go in season 1. And it's kind of funny on the idea that the studio didn't really like flashbacks because flashbacks were absolutely key in the development of Lost and how it would understand its characters and how it would understand motivation in the show. And the flashbacks are actually a demonstration of one of the key themes in the whole show, of which is redemption. The show did the definition of show, not tell. Lost has always been about the character. And so take those flashbacks away and you're taking away huge chunks of character. Anyway, let's get into the nitty-gritty of the episode itself. Now, I really, really liked the opening scene of this episode. It is a very short but simple scene that tells you, or rather reminds you of the severity of what we're watching. We're not just watching like handsome people walking around an island. We're watching survivors of an airplane crash. The marshal in this episode kind of sucks. She's dangerous. And now that we are into the show proper, we get a lot more firsts now. For example, we get our first chat with Charlie and Claire. We get our first instance of Locke being active in someone else's business when he tries to get Vincent back. And we also get our first Sawyer and Jack scene. I almost said Kate scene. Our first Sawyer and Jack scene. I love how that fuselage scene balances against the later scene when Sawyer has tried to euthanize the Marshal. In the fuselage, Sawyer and Jack are having a kind of tete-a-tete, where Sawyer actually comes out on top, I think, because, you know, he's got his whole living in the wild take. And it's true, you know, Sawyer is trying to find things that are going to help his continuing survival of let's say, joy and getting on with life, you know, his beer, porn, magazines, books, cigarettes. Whereas Jack, in Sawyer's opinion, is kind of being a little bit silly, because he's just trying to find medication to use on a guy that's obviously going to die. And he's going to, use it all on that guy? Like, as Jack says, he will use as much as it takes. So in this scene, Sawyer really comes out as, like, the realist. He's like, yeah, look, we're here, people are going to die. I'm just trying to enjoy my life. Come on. When Sawyer messes up the euthanization of the Marshal, Jack comes out of that tent, and Sawyer is just like, he's like a naughty boy that did something wrong. Like, the way he presents himself there, he's actually angry with himself. He's so upset with what he's done and that he did it so badly. When Jack comes out, that role is like sort of reversed, where Jack is the realist. Jack is cleaning up after this mess that Sawyer's made, and now Jack, a man who, you know, has given the Hippocratic oath to save lives, has to murder a person. So what's your take? How do you think Jack murdered the Marshal? I've always imagined that Jack goes in there and suffocates him with a pillow. But I was having a conversation with a Redditor recently, where they were convinced that Jack strangled the Marshal, and they think that he came out with blood on his hands. And I was just like, that is mad. Why would Jack strangle the Marshal? That seems almost like taking too much pleasure in it. And just before we move on from the Marshal, I do want to say, I kind of think that the Marshal should have survived. I think that he should have continued on. I think that the show might have been a little bit better for Kate's character if the Marshal had kept going, at least for a season or so. You know, I get that the Marshal was actually there as a catalyst to give exposition on Kate's history. And we'll have characters like that in future where they crop up and then they die, like Arzt, Ilana, Minkowski. They come, they give us some exposition on something, and then they die. I get that. But, you know, the Marshal and Kate have had a years-long battle, a years-long cat and mouse chase. And I just feel like continuing that throughout the show would have been much better than just having him killed here. And it would have given Kate a bit more to do. Because season 1, Kate is pretty good, but she still just ends up being between Jack, who is always trying to save her, and Sawyer, who is always trying to say, let her do whatever she wants. She's still always in between them, and not being always active for herself. Whereas if she'd had an actual enemy, you know, in the show, I feel like there could have been a bit more that they could have done with Kate. And maybe even the Marshal would grow to not like Kate, but he might have come around to not all criminals are evil, which is kind of what we get from his two-dimensional presentation in this episode. So in general, I think this is a really good start to the series. You know, the pilot is more like a movie that sets up some questions and sets up the characters. But this is the first episode as we would know Lost being. Now let's see what other people were saying about this episode back in 2004. Time to predict the first cliche. The black guy will end up banging the Korean girl. Jesus Christ. Dude, you go for the headshot, idiot. Yeah, the brain can't feel pain. Dumb decision on his part. I mean, give Sawyer a break. He's not like trying to execute the guy. He's trying to mercy kill him. You don't shoot someone in the head as a mercy kill. It's obvious Locke is insane. Okay, my views on the episode are as follows. I think this is J.J. Abrams' way of reshaping the expectations for this series. It won't all be action all the time. There will be action moments, and there will be moments with no action. That is simply the way the show will work. It won't be like the pilot every week. A huge mystery won't be solved every episode. It's about building society and characters. I mean, this guy's spot on. What is this show? It sounds kind of like Survivor. Someone's late to the party. I just want to know what the fuck Kate did. I hope that we don't get many more flashbacks. As Jack says, their pasts don't really matter to them, and I would add that they also don't matter to me. I want to see these people bond and develop whilst on the island. I don't care for what was going on before. It bears little relevance. I mean, okay, everyone has a right to their opinion, I guess. Wholeheartedly disagree. Understanding where they came from might not be important to their interpersonal relations, but I think it's important to the viewer in order to understand who they were on the flight and where they come from. Jack might not want to know, but damn it, I do. See? And then you've got that other side of the argument there, which is perfectly what I'm trying to say as well. You know, the writers of the show have been very clear in the past that they are interested in the questions that the characters have, but they also want to show us character. So the flashback is a way of doing that. We get to see character, but the characters don't have to sit around talking about the mysteries of the island or questioning people's pasts. A dog whistle? Damn it, that's awesome! But Locke still freaks me out. Okay, aren't all of the bodies going to start to smell soon? I like it when people are having a thought and then it happens like next. Like in the next episode, they take care of the bodies. So this isn't a mystery, but it's something someone's thinking about, and then it's going to happen in the next episode. And that's probably going to make that person like the show a bit more, probably. Sawyer's hot, but he's a dumbass. Everyone knows he put the gun in the mouth and blew the brains out. Duh, I figured Dr. Fox smothered him, but we'll never know. Okay, so maybe people are having a question about how Jack killed the marshal. That's funny. I tell ya, Walt made it stop raining. Holy moly, this guy is on it. They have already cottoned on to something with Walt, which is pretty crazy because we haven't actually had much with him. What the hell is up with Locke's eyes? I will agree, they are something else. And Sawyer is a dumbass. You shoot someone in the head when you euthanize them. What is with people trying to shoot the marshal in the head? Forget the monster. Forget the interpersonal drama. Forget the action and adventure. Right now, there's only one thing I care to see on this show. More topless sun. That will never get old. Jesus Christ. I mean, you know, once Sawyer gets his top off, people are going to be making those comments too. So, in my mind, it's like equal. And Sawyer, I love him. Josh looks so good in every scene. Mwah. There you go, see? He didn't even need to take his top off to get some love. Saeed, being the leader guy, our authority makes him, if possible, even sexier. And now, let's get serious and take a moment for those who we have lost. In Lost. Edward Marshall Mars, your sadistic hard-on for catching Kate and enjoying turbulence a little bit too much will not be missed, because we will see you in plenty of flashbacks in the future. Alright, and now for whose side are you on? This is the part where I will talk about whose side I was most on during this episode. And in this one, I'm going to continue to be on Jack's side. Purely just for everything I've talked about already, the way that Jack silently shames Sawyer after he tried to be the big boy. It's a very good demonstration of of why Jack is kind of looked to be the leader, in my opinion. Okay, and now time for a new segment. We can't escape it. This TV show is full of hot people on a hot island. So in this segment, we're going to talk about the episode's hottest moment. In the first hour of the pilot, Kate walks in on Jack semi-nude. Then in the next hour, Sun walks in on Kate semi-nude. And now in this episode, Michael walks in on Sun semi-nude. So if we follow this progression from Jack to Kate to Sun to Michael, then that means that in episode 4, Michael must get naked and have someone come across him. Because this game of naked tag should continue. And this week's liar is Saeed. Although his reasons are noble, he is a liar. And it's a wasted lie anyway, since this secret about the French transmission is canonically the worst kept secret in the entire show. Future Steven just popping in quickly to amend that I would like to add Walt to the mysteries. In the pilot, he's reading a comic with a polar bear, and then a polar bear shows up. And here in this episode, he's talking about the rain stopping, and then the rain stops. Let's keep an eye on this. Well, that was Tabula Rasa. Great episode. Thank you for joining me. And I hope to see you in next week's episode, which is Walkabout, an excellent Locke episode. So, check out the poll that's coming up and leave your answer in the comments. And I'll see you in the next episode, brother.
On a dangerous island. Run! With no hope or rescue.
It's been 4 days. No one's come.
The struggle for survival begins.
There is no food, dude. Oh, perfect. Who is this guy?
Now's the time to get lost in the best new drama on TV.
Somebody died out there.
An all new Lost.